Welcome to another episode of Existence. This is the podcast where we are exploring the question, what does it mean to exist and pursue a life well lived through the contemplation of love, death, meaning, philosophy, and connection. My name is Evan, and I'm a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and over the past 2 years, I have traveled over half of the U.S., living on the back of a motorcycle, and backpacked over a dozen different countries across Europe, just having conversations along the way. And this is yet another one of those conversations. Today's episode is with Guillaume. He is a French business student currently living in London and happens to be one of my partner's best friends. We discuss the importance of diversity, what does it mean to know yourself, and the desire to conform, among other topics. But with that, hope you enjoy the conversation, and thanks for listening. Cool. Well, awesome. Guillaume, thank you for being on. I appreciate
Thank you.
Cool. Do you mind giving the people a bit of a backstory about who you are, where you're coming from, and kind of just a little synopsis of how you came to be being interviewed by me? So like just a little bit about your history and
Okay.
where you've gone.
So I'm Guillaume Ramdan. I'm from France, Lille, a little town in north of France. I'm studying business, and last year I've been in an Erasmus exchange, where I found one of my best friends there, Dorsey. I lived with her, and thanks to her, I met you in London.
Yeah.
And 1 year later, we're here in Budapest.
Exactly. Look at that. Dorsey is my partner. Guillaume is one of her best friends, and look at that. You're being interviewed now 1 year later. So
Incredible.
that's pretty cool. So what was it like for you growing up in France? How was that for you?
I mean, growing up in France was a pretty nice childhood. I always dreamed to go to the US. Growing up, I've been there for a few months in Wisconsin.
Shout out to Wisconsin,
Yes.
to the Midwest.
And I mean, France is a pretty nice country.
So what was it like growing up with what was your how was your childhood with your family? How was your relationships?
So my dad is Algerian.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is French. So I've been in this mixed culture, but I grew up more with my mom because it was a bit complicated. The relationship between them two. So my dad left us when I was 5 or 6. It's not nice memories. I actually don't remember a lot from my childhood. Maybe it's because of this, maybe not. But yeah, so that was a pretty complicated subject for me. But I really tried to be really positive as a child, because my mom was really, I can feel it, she was really sad about it. She was depressed, and I always wanted to outshine this sadness in my household. So I really didn't think about it as a bad thing. But when you grow up, you realize some stuff, and that's where this was a really bad, situation between them two, and especially from my dad. But yeah.
Were you somebody that took care of would you take on the role of really taking care of your mom?
I have this memory, a clear memory, when my dad said, "Okay, I'm gonna leave you." I was there with my mom, and she really got angry. She threw a tantrum basically. And I remember when my dad left, she was crying on the couch, and I was like, "Mom, I'm always gonna be with you. Don't worry. We don't need this guy. I'm gonna be there for you." And yes, that's the memory I have. And yeah.
How did that shape your relationship with your mom, being somebody that stuck by her side through that all? It's a tough situation to be able to kind of navigate between two parents, and trying to pick a side in that sort of sense.
I really didn't have to pick a side when I was a child, because I was with my mom. I sticked with my mom. I was with my mom. I always be with my mom, and I didn't like see my dad for like few months, even maybe few years after this, and so I always been more with in my mom's side. But growing up, I really had, when I was a child, like I don't know how to say, um like really love relationship with my mom in terms of like child and obviously
Yeah.
really stick to her. I really need like attention, like touch. And when I grew up, it kind of like fade away for some reason. But we were really, really close
Yeah.
from each other.
What
with each other.
was there a specific thing that kind of had you guys drift apart, or was it just kind of maturing, getting older, and kind of going your own way as you grew up?
I think yes, it's just like, I became a teenager, and you don't like have you're like you I don't want to
Yeah.
have physical touch and stuff.
Yeah.
And also like I pretty evolved toward like I really don't like to be touched. I mean, from others, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if it's confused in my head. It's subconscious, I guess. But I really like to get to be touchy with my mom. That's not the question. But I don't know. Like growing up, I had this phase of like I need my personal space,
Yeah.
and like I need to be kind of alone throughout the day. Like I need my personal peace.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I feel the same way in a lot of respects. Like a personal space is something that I value, and it's
Yeah.
not something that I need like that much of. Like or in terms of like being physical with somebody, and it can kind of be awkward for at least the people that kind of deal with that. Is like you value your own your space, your body, and you might not feel comfortable being with somebody in like a really intimate way. But it's
Yeah.
different with your mom, and
course.
and every person, you kind of have um, I guess, your own personality between each person, and what you find acceptable and not acceptable between each person. But so what was it? What was it for you? How was it being like half Algerian, half French? What was that kind of dynamic in your childhood, or like as you grew up? Did you I guess like what were some of the cultural things that you found noticeable between other people that you grew up with that didn't have to deal with that dynamic?
Mm, as I said, I really like grew up with my mom, so more in the French culture.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like always been in France, so I didn't really felt that Algerian side of mine. But um, um, when I was like more in high school and stuff, I really like, because like for example like a basic stuff, I was really um had a complex, is it, with my hair. I was really insecure about it because I didn't know how to deal with it. So I remember like in middle school I was always like straightening it,
Mm.
um maybe to fit in. But yes, because like all the like cool kids had, this straight hair with gel, and I wanted to be like this. But it's really like in high school where I really learned to like accept like my hair, accept myself, and I like tried to bit more learn about this side of my family. So throughout my dad, throughout my grandpa, that I value a lot from my dad's side. And it's actually like a very interesting topic to me because it's not really known even in France, because I come from like my dad is coming from um, like Kabylie, we call, so it's like a little region in Algeria, and it's a Berber region. So it's not the same, it's not the Arabic language that they use in Algeria. It's really like a specific culture, which is really interesting because, as I said, no, not really known in the general public. So I really try to be educated and like educated the others to this, because I feel like it's really important. And yeah, like I wear this chain, so nobody can see.
Yeah.
It represents like Algeria, and this sign in the chain is the Berber sign,
Mm.
so the Amazigh sign. So I think it's
What is
a
what?
subject really important to me, like
Yeah. What does that represent? What does it represent exactly?
the chain.
The sign. What is the sign again? Oh yeah.
I mean, I know the story, but we explained it to me. Actually, my uncle explained it to me in Paris. I remember, but it's like two chain that are together to symbolize resistance. But
Okay,
I'm
cool.
not really sure. So
No, that's cool. I think it's cool. I mean, it's like I guess when you're growing up, you're so many kids, especially like they just know their own culture, their own way of doing things. So I mean, it's cool. It's interesting to see, how you kind of try to represent yourself
Yeah.
growing up. But it's difficult, like you said. I relate to like the hair thing. I mean, when I was growing up, I've like if I grow out my hair, like it's just curly and like long. It's not as curly as yours, but it gets really curly. And so like I straightened my hair too because I was like, I don't know, like I just want to like fit in or like make myself look more like everyone else. But
yeah.
what do you think it is that keeps us back in that sense? Like, why do you think that, especially growing up, like we hold on to our ourselves so much where we're trying to like conform in a lot of different ways? I mean, as we still grow up, like it's the same sort of thing. I feel like in certain ways we kind of like want to or at least there's this idea that you should conform, or like that might be the best way to go about things. What do you think that is? Why do you think we do that?
I mean, especially like in the childhood, you have this environment. You are not mature. Of course, you're not mature. You don't you don't really know that much about life, and your whole life is like your family, your friends, and like school. And at school, like kids are really, I guess, mean with everything that's different. And of course, like in my school, like they were the like the general tendency was like fully white people. So I feel like it, especially for a child, it's really complicated to be different and like to assume this difference. So I guess, as you said, I don't know when you started to straighten your hair and stuff, but it was really more for like being like to fit in, literally to fit in your school, like to have your, I mean, to not feel like really different than your friends and stuff. And I guess when you grow up, like when I grow up, I feel like I don't care being different. I think it's cooler to be different than being like everyone else. Like I don't want to be like everyone else now. So I'm really happy that all this thinking like went away, and I can really be like myself, and I really don't care now about like judgments from others. I feel like it's kind of a pity to judge people that by their difference, because who chose this? Did I choose to have curly hair? Did I choose to have like this background? No, I just like came to life like this because my parents, I mean, fell in love, I guess. And I mean, who cares? I think difference is really the beauty of life.
Yeah, totally. Differences is it brings so much diversity, but I think you bring up a great point as well, as the idea that like nobody really chose this
Yeah.
this path for themselves, because they're always, and this is something I think about quite a bit, is the fact that we're all just born into the situation we're born into. Like you were born Algerian and French, like in France, and I was born like half Hispanic in California. It's like I just happened to be born that way and happened to be speaking the language I spoke with the parents that you were born into or born with. And, you just find yourself in this situation in life, and everybody in all of existence finds themselves in the situation that they're born into. And I think that plays such a huge part in when we're talking about like the way in which we navigate life and we go through life. interacting with other people and the way that we look at them in a certain way, and we may not, agree with what they're saying, or we may not see it as they see it, but everyone was just born into the situation they were born into, with the experiences that they were experiencing, with the traumas that they had to deal with. And I think that can really pave a way for an incredible amount of sympathy for each other, because, it's like you didn't choose it, I didn't choose it, and you kind of recognize that within yourself and you project it onto another person. Is that something you kind of take with you at all as you start maturing and kind of realizing that this is everyone's on their own path, and everyone's kind of dealing with a situation that was just presented to them?
I mean, in terms of ideas, it's really interesting what you said. Like, everyone is a product of their environment. I think it's true when you are a child, of course. Like, you are a product of your parents, of what your parents thinks. But at the end of the day, when you are growing up, I mean, when you are more towards like your adult life, I don't think in terms of ideas, you are a product of your environment. I think you can really um, um, like have a judgment of like this society and the life on your own, and like have your own reflection about it, and really like don't take your parents or environment opinions and create your own ones. That's why it's really important to like discuss with everyone, and like it's crazy that everyone has their own ideas, and like it's actually such a luck that we are all different, and that there is debate, even though like some people have crazy ideas that I don't really support. It's important for them to speak, because first it brings you a reflection, and also like when those type of people that you don't support speak, you have to in your mind be like really in a no judgment situation. I don't know how to say, but like you don't have to judge them. You really have to like listen to them and reflect about it and have an opinion, and I mean maybe judge what they are saying. But this is for me the process of a debate, and also as I said, it's really important that everyone has a voice and everyone should use it. And I think also is the way that we can evolve in a society is by like deconstruct those maybe bad ideas. It's because they are being said, and if they are not being said, then those maybe like bad ideas in this society gonna stay and like evolve and like going towards a bad
And
bad end.
no, I think that's a great point. I mean, like it goes to like freedom of speech and like
Exactly.
the ability to speak what you may or may not think, your ideologies, however you may perceive the world. But when you're, at least when you're able to say them and we're able to get them out, and people are able to reflect on them and mold them and shape them in their minds and within their ideologies, you can start to kind of come to more, I think, more of a moldable and cohesive idea of like maybe the right direction to go to, because like you're coming with your ideas, I'm coming with my ideas, and I guarantee you yours and mine are different in some sense, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you're exclusively right about everything. It doesn't mean that I'm exclusively right about everything.
Of course.
And, if I just continue thinking the exact same way that I think for the rest of my life and never really take input from other people, or they never get brought to me, nobody says them, I'm just going to continue ruminating in my own head about the same ideas and then you continue furthering those thoughts in the same sort of cycle. And then once those evolve as you grow older, like they become almost like this skewed version of reality, because it's just your own perception of things and you're not taking into account everyone else's ideas and everyone else's thoughts. But you could take it, I think that's why it's important, like collectively in this huge sense, when you take it as like not only like within your country but within the world. Like you it's okay to hear other people's ideas. It's okay to hear ideas that you disagree with. Like you can hear ideas that are extremely not anything towards what you may perceive or what you may want to hear, but it's okay, because you don't have to accept that. You don't have to take them as truth, or you don't have to take them as right. But even just, I think the fact of learning to entertain ideas without accepting them is one of the most important things you can do. But it's difficult. Why do you think that it's probably a lot harder for people to do this? Because I think so many people have their own concepts of ideas, so many ideologies that they hold so dearly to themselves, and it's hard to hear other people's ideas that are different from theirs. Why do you think that might be?
First, I want to rebound to something you said.
Yeah.
Like in terms of having the same idea in your life and remaining those thoughts, don't you think it's so boring to have the same idea and the same thought for your whole life? I think it's such a boring life, but
no, I think it is a boring life.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to learn from others. You get to meet people in your life. It's so unpredictable, and you find another way of thinking, and this is the most magical thing you can have, because it can really change yourself in so much ways, that it changed literally your whole life. You may find some new goals, you may find some new perspectives, and this is really for me a gift, to be able to learn stuff from people. This is really a gift, and I think it's a capacity that you have to build in yourself, to not be closed and closed-minded and be, this is my life, I go straight away. Because for me, life is it's really not straight, and this is an entertaining life. And when you said there are some people that just stick with their mind, I think it's really bad to be like this, and I don't think it's they cannot evolve. I think everyone can evolve towards growing up and opening up, but I don't know why some people are like this. I don't have any response, and I just think it's sad for them.
Yeah. Is there an idea of how you think? I mean, it's the idea of evolution. We're all going towards a path. We're all going towards something. And I think, we could go along this individual route, like you were saying, you just look straight ahead and you just march forward, and you put on blinders and you don't, or maybe you put on, just want to talk to people that think like you or look like you or act like you in some way. But then you disregard the rest of the world that also thinks a different way than you. And I think that's, it's not only boring. I think it's just dangerous. It's completely, it's dangerous because we've seen time and time again throughout history when people are just this is my way, this is my rules, these are my laws, this is my country. I think this is the only way to think. And then they start taking over other places, and we start to create this polarization between the same type of people that want the same thing. And when I think about life, I think often, so I think broadly, not to say that the details aren't important, everyday political, politics and all that, but the way I'm always oriented towards my way of thinking is broadly as a species of humans. And in that sense, we do ourselves such a disfavor when we are just constantly about our own self, our own ways of thinking, and it's difficult to get yourself out of it, because we're always inundated with certain like news channels, or we're inundated with certain, things we see on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, YouTube, and the algorithms are just giving us more things that we want to look at, and the same things over and over again that seem to align with the things we click on, and it's hard to kind of get outside of that bubble. I think it's kind of difficult to see outside of the curated life that is that social media presents us, and I don't know if it's something that you've dealt with. Like, have you thought about that in terms of like what gets curated towards you in online, in the online space?
Yeah, I think like everyone has their bubbles, and for me, these bubbles, it's called like the comfort zone. Everyone has their comfort zone, and it's really important to have one because you're not stable otherwise, and it's cool to have stuff you like. I mean, it's cool to have patience. It's cool to have like something you like to do in this life, and it reflects also on like your Instagram feed or like TikTok feed. Like if you are a fan of football, you're gonna have football in your feeds, and like this is this bubble, and I think it's not bad in this way. But in terms of like way of thinking or maybe like politics, um, of course, if you think a certain thing, myself, um, you're gonna have those stuff on maybe TikTok or like Instagram, like the things that aligns with your way of thinking, um, and of course it's really like narrow, yes, your vision, and narrow like the possibilities of like having a debate or something, or like or thinking like, oh, what this guy think, why is thinking like this, why should maybe I think like him or like her, um like it narrows this unconscious thinking when someone's like have these different ideas than you. But also I think it's also good because you always learn some stuff um, about things, and mm, 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 yeah.
What do you think the best way, or at least a way, to kind of get yourself out of that mindset is? This narrow way of thinking. Like, I think it's a good point though. It's like there's certain bubbles that are cool, like football, or you're really into books or reading, and then you see that, and like comedy, whatever. But then there are some more dangerous sides that can do a lot of much more harm than you may realize. So, like, what do you think the best way to kind of get out of that narrow stage is?
Actually, for me, the best way to stop this like system is just to meet people. This is for me like the best way, because as I said, everyone is different. Everyone has different patients. Everyone has. I mean, um, as I said, like meeting new people is really a gift, and in this way, like maybe you'll be like, oh, this girl does this thing, and I never like think about it, and wow, that should be cool. I'm gonna make some research. So you make some research and you start liking it, and you maybe you are not going to explode this bubble, but you're gonna extend it to other subjects. And I think you're gonna always be in a bubble because you're not gonna like see all these possibilities in the life, but at least you're gonna expand it and not having like this bubble, but like a huge bubble, which is good for me. And so after the question is how to meet new people that have different interests, because of course you're gonna be like towards people that have the same interest with you, and I think this is the most complicated thing, and I think that's why you should be all again like open to discuss with people that don't have the same idea. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of good things there. I kind of want to respond to you. The first one kind of being I think it is, the main point there being talking to other people, like being able to be willing to just be around people that you might not normally be around. And that's a difficult thing, like you pointed out. It's not easy to kind of just make friends or like interact with people that you really are not associated with on a normal everyday basis. But when it does happen, or if you make an effort to do that, and which I think is a separate issue, but if you end up doing that, it can really open your eyes up to so many different possibilities and so many ways of thinking and so many different perspectives that you would have not known otherwise had you not been able to talk to people and just communicate. And I think that's such a big deal of like why I started this podcast, why I do this at all, is because I think there's so much value in communication and like having interactions with people that number one, I may just not have interacted with normally or had a conversation with at length normally, but also because like it opens me up to so much different perspectives. And it's something that I've gained immense value in when I hear other people talk on other podcasts or like in other conversations just throughout life. And I think it's so valuable because it opens yourself up in so many different ways that bring so much benefit, and that you end up bringing with you throughout your life when you talk to other people. You're like, oh no, I knew, like I had a conversation with this person, or like I knew this person, I was friends with this person. And, it's something that I take with me, like out of my experience, like in the military, like there's so many people that I would have never talked to or never have known and never become, best friends with had I not been in a situation where I had to be with them. And now I have some of my best friends out of it. And I know you can speak to that with, you going on your exchange, your Erasmus exchange, and you meeting other people from different countries and having conversations with them and like becoming like best friends with people that you would have never talked to otherwise. And that is so valuable, and it's something that, you can hold so dearly to you. And it is, it's not something that we often get the chance to do all the time. It's not something that, every day we're always just talking to new people from new places. But traveling is like such a huge part. And that's why I think it's also immensely important as well to like be somebody that puts themselves out there, even if it's not, traveling to a whole new country, but just like talking to people within your city, or just, talking to people that are at a party you're at that you wouldn't have talked to or you didn't know. And trying to poke outside that bubble even a little bit, because I think there's value in that. But it's not, it's not something that it comes naturally, I think it's kind of like, do you think it's like, do you think it's an innate thing to want to do that? Or do you think it's more something that it's a difficult, like, more of a difficult thing to do for people to kind of push outside their boundaries?
No, I don't think it comes naturally. And also I want to say like there is some people that for them it's really hard to socialize, and also they don't get the chance to maybe go to party or like meeting lots of people. And that's why, as we said, like internet is really good for that, because it allows you to meet to exchange with so much people like across the world. And I think it's really nice in this way to be able to like having conversation with so many people. Like there's so much possibilities, and with so much cultures, and like you can learn so much. But if we talk about like socializing in a real life, it's what I personally prefer. Yes, it doesn't come like naturally, but sometimes like just people are really nice, like you're having a chat and you see like you really don't, you are not the same vibe, you don't have the same idea and stuff, but you really can appreciate like the other person. And I always think it's so interesting to like talk to someone that like you would have never talked to. Like for example, 2 days ago I talked to a guy who was like, he told me like, I'm a Satanist. I would never talk to someone that is Satanist. And he's like, yeah, and I was like, are you joking? He's like, no. And I talked to him for like 20 minutes, and it was really interesting conversation. Um, and again, this conversation allows me to grow in a way, not as I share the same opinion, but I'm like, wow, in which word will I talk to a Satanist person? Um, I think it's crazy to me, and it's really like, um, 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 it's something that it allows you to, um, again, to think in a different manners, and to be like, wow, there those type of people exist, because of course I never saw someone like this, and you're like, wow, it's just like a something really, um, really like, I don't know how to say.
Like random or
No, something really like a little part of the population that I will never meet in my life.
yeah.
And actually, you have this person that think this way, and you're like, oh wow, and they are not like you suppose like to be. This guy was really like respectful. Actually, was like, I respect everyone. Like, um, I respect like, yeah, I respect everyone. I'm just a rebel. That's why I just wanted to be like a Satanist. What? But yeah, I mean, it's even like a funny story to say. I mean,
Yeah, no, it
this
is
is just
story.
life.
Yeah, I mean, you meet people. I think that's the unexpected thing. It's like you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think like coming into life with that, with the idea that you have no idea what might happen, is such a big part of like just
Yeah.
life in general. I was finishing Journey by Moonlight by Antel Serb, which is it's a Hungarian book, and shout out to the Hungarians. And it ends.
See ya.
See ya. It ends really with like kind of a quote that says like, you. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase here, but it's like you never know. You have to keep on living because you never know what might happen the next day. And I think it's really one of the most powerful quotes I've seen ending on a book, because it's something that I take to heart, is like the idea that we're living a life, and we think that we know what's going to happen every day. We think we wake up and we're like, okay, like today's a normal day, and we have things we need to do. We may have a job, we have, to eat, we have friends to talk to, or we have coworkers to meet, and things to accomplish. But really, we don't actually know. Like there could be some drastic event that happens. We could get a phone call that changes our entire life. We can meet somebody that sends us on a completely different trajectory than we would have imagined for ourselves. But we often forget that. We often get lost in the monotony of life. We often get lost in the waking up every day and the 9 to 5 of it all. But I think that's where there's so much there's comfort in that, but there's also the excitement of knowing that it doesn't have to be like that.
But I think like there's for some people like a need that having a life really like a routine, because also this life is so unpredictable, so it can be so scary for so much people to, having a bad news, having a phone call, like something negative. Of course, like we try to think of something positive, but it can also be something really negative. So for some people, it's really a security to have, this life. It's really like this. For me, I really hate. I hate organizing like a life. Even like for my revision, for example, I never had a calendar where I was like, oh, hour I would study this, because I found it really having a pressure of like, I have to do it, like, as in reality, like, I'm just here. I just don't want to follow some rules or some time. But of course, you need this in your life, like in your job. It's really important to be organized, and because you have responsibilities. But at the end of the day, yes, there is some people that just have are happy actually with this type of life, and I can understand. I mean, really not me, but I can understand people that just want to have this square life, that everything goes with well with everything, and like it's for me, it's really a security for them, and yeah.
Yeah, I do. I resonate with. I think it's a good point, because you find security in that, like, and it's a comforting feeling for a lot of people, and for other people, it's not. It's the opposite, and there's people in between. But do you think it's even possible to actually live out that life? I mean, do you think it's possible to like have the people that are oriented? They have this 10-year life plan. They have all these things that are they have lined up, checking all the boxes every single day. Do you think that's a realistic goal to have, to be able to do all these things, knowing that the vicissitudes of life may come and blow everything out of proportion? Like everything just might get blown out. If you're not, because just life happens. Sometimes you just get slapped upside the head and life takes its course, or things just don't go according to plan. And I think the worry that I have for having like this checkbox of life is that you really, you could plan, and it's good to plan, and it's good to kind of have some sort of goal for yourself, and some sort of path that you would like your life to go down. But at the same time, I think leaving space for the freedom of life that will inevitably come underway, like it's important to realize that. It's important to realize that life will also take its course, and you don't really have any control of some of the things that actually happens.
Yeah, as you said, I think it's really important to have projects and goals in your life, because what you're gonna do if you don't plan some stuff? It's really important to plan, actually. A year long, or like 5 years long, or like 10 years long project, because it's also can be a dream, and you should follow your dream. Maybe your dream can change in the way, but you actually like work on it and be productive towards your goals. And I think it's really important in life, because at the end of the day, you have a goal, and you are happy to work for it. And so because I think having no project and no goals in life, oh, people will be lost. I don't think someone has no objectives. You have to have objectives, because what you gonna do? Just living here? Um, mm, I think you need to work on something that will eventually happen. Just for being here and living. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, objectives. I think. I mean, I think I'm thinking of like the difference between, I guess, the way my mind. What I'm thinking is like the difference between objectives and goals. Like, is there a difference between objectives and goals?
actually, I don't know. I'm not an English naturally speaker, so
I don't know either. I'm thinking about it too. Like, is there, because I guess when I think of,
for me, there are synonyms. So
yeah, I mean they are. Maybe I'm just getting into the semantic weeds of things, which I normally do. But
maybe there is a nuance, but
yeah,
you can share it.
well, I guess the idea of like an objective is like a larger picture. The idea of an objective is like this goal, this end goal that you have, or like this process that you want to undertake to get to or maybe it's not even a full process. Maybe it's not like the end goal, but it's a process that once you start achieving certain things in your life, like it culminates to like a path for yourself. And then I don't know, maybe there's individual goals along the way to get to that path. And it's like you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a neuroscientist, you want to be a doctor or something. Like you have to go to school, you have to go to grad school, you got to go to med school, you got to do all these things, and then you eventually like obtain a degree and end up doing that. And there are things that can get in the way of you doing that, but I think ultimately having that objective for yourself is it's definitely attainable. And I think the way that we kind of get held back in so many ways is like questioning along the way whether or not that objective is really worth it. It's like you can have these goals for your life, and it's hard because there are so many things that life wants to do to take you away from those goals. Those things that through everyday life of like the challenge of doing something every day to get better at it, or putting in the effort to do something. It's difficult. It's not easy to like say you want to do something and then actually do it and then carry out that plan to like end up at a certain state for yourself. And it's something I think about often because it's difficult for me to do it because there's it's like I see a lot of ideas out there in the world and a lot of people that, and myself included, that like want to do a lot of things, but there's challenges. There's a lot of challenges that come in, and there's a lot of what life brings you that wants to take you away from a certain path. And I think that the strength comes within yourself of dealing with those things, but still constantly reminding yourself what the ultimate goal is. But is that what's it's like you can take that sort of concept and balance it with like what does it mean to like live a present life, a life like day to day that you can be happy with, even though you're still along this path of growing and learning and like moving towards an ultimate path for yourself or an ultimate objective for yourself.
Well, first, I think the future is really scary. Just speaking for myself, I don't think I have long-term objectives or goals, but I have like a small, like 1, 2 years, 3 years goals, but I don't have a 10 years goals or like 5 years goals, and I think that's totally fine because I'm really open to many stuffs. I just know I want to travel and I want to see the world and I want to live outside of my comfort zone, so outside of France or maybe the Europe that can really be not as different as France in a way. So maybe like living in Asia or Africa or like Latin America, I really want to go there. That's a dream for me. But yeah, I think it's fine to not have like long-term goals, but having small-term goals is really important to move in life. And living a present life and being happy. I think yeah, it's just um, working towards what you like, finding yourself. I think the fundamental, the basis is just having this introspection, questioning yourself, a bit overthinking. It's not bad to overthink. It's really important. I mean, in my mind, to overthink about what you like, what you don't like, uh, just about yourself. Because we are here, we are dealing with so much humans, but first deal with yourself. Because I personally don't, I maybe know the half of myself, and I'm working on the process of knowing myself. So like it's an everyday process, and I don't think at the end of your life you know 100% of yourself, uh, which is actually fine, uh, because you can always be unpredictable with your choice, with what you're saying, and that's just the beauty again of like humans. Is like sometimes you just have this idea that you just, oh, I'm gonna move, and you move. And I think it's again interesting to have this type of mechanism. But yeah, being happy in the present life is just yeah knowing yourself, what you like, and working towards what you like and what you want to be later, even though after 5 years you don't want to be this. But as I said, you have been productive, and I think it's the most important is being productive and work.
Yeah. I think you raise a really good point, which is like the fact that you're never going to know yourself fully. And that brings the question of what does it mean to know yourself? And I think that's a really good question. The idea that we're going to die not knowing who we are. It's kind of interesting because we think we think of ourselves as this. We think of ourselves as if we know ourselves so much. You know, it's like we're the only person that really knows us for who we are, because we are the ones that deal with our own consciousness. We're the ones that deal with our own mind and our own subjective experience of all of reality, which is the only experience you can know individually as a person. But that it does make so much sense because like there, and I'm sure you have like friends or people that that are extremely close to you that know you better than you know yourself sometimes, and you're like, I don't know if that's something you might relate to.
I think people have perspectives of everyone. Like they know me that I show. I don't know how to say, but like it's crazy. I don't think like as an individual, all my friends see me the same way, and it's so interesting actually. Like for example, let's take Dorsey example. As we both know,
my partner, your friend,
your partner, one of my best friend. Like we may not see the same Dorsey, and that is so cool.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to how intricate of a person that Dorsey is, and how complex of a person that anybody can be.
Just a person,
just one
so
person.
Complex.
Yeah. You could see like a completely different side of a person.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. I mean, you see her differently than I do, but we also like agree fundamentally, like
of course,
on a idea of a person. Like they're a good person, or whoever it might be. It doesn't have to be Dorsey, but it could be anybody that.
She good.
But shout out to Dorsey though. But it could be anybody that you see from two different lights, from two different perspectives. And it's like you can see like your parents, like your parents see each other differently than how their kids see that their parent. And I think it just raises questions like who is a person, like what does it mean to know yourself? Because I think we can always get caught up on the idea, or maybe not always get caught up on the idea, but sometimes we can go down the thought process of like trying to know yourself better, and I think it's a good thing. But what does that mean really? Like, what does it mean to like know yourself? Do you only know parts of yourself, and other parts just aren't exposed to you, or are they only exposed to other people that look objectively on the situation of a person? I don't know if you have anything to respond to that with.
I think it's very subjective, actually. Like to know someone, it's really from your side anyway. So, I mean, it's really different. If you take someone that you really know in real life, and maybe like a personality, for example, like, I don't know, a president, of course you're gonna have those oriented ideas that maybe medias or like your environment will show you, and so you're gonna have an opinion on someone that you don't actually know, which is like, I don't know, interesting to think about. But to talk about like a friend or like a family member or like a relative, I think it's really subjective to like know someone. Like I know this person from my reality. I don't know if it was the question actually.
No, you're good. Continue.
But yeah,
Continue
I just
that
think
thought.
it's really subjective. It just reminds. No, it just
Resonates.
Resonate for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. No, actually, so I know we got to wrap it up here, and you got a plane to catch. But I always want to end it on music. I know you're into music.
Yes. Let's end on the positive.
Yeah. So I always ask people what some good music recommendations are. You can give as much or as little as you want.
Okay.
But if you want to look through your
That's my
Spotify,
subject.
or if you want to give a couple recs
To
to the good people of the podcast.
Actually, I love Tame Impala. I know the person behind the camera loves Tame Impala also. Big fan. I advise you to listen some. I showed to my friend yesterday Steve Lacy. That was
Steve
my
Lacy.
go-to this summer. It's really chill, really cool. Especially Static is my favorite song. Also, I love this. I'm in love with Portuguese song at this time, and I advise to listen Regra Tres of Toquinho and Vicious. Let's find. I hope you will find
It'll
it.
all be linked in the
Okay,
description.
will be linked. Faith, thanks for you. And yes, maybe let's end with a Kabil song, which I was talking in the first, maybe in the introduction of the video. I advise you to listen some Matu Blueness. So it's like I asked my dad which artist in the Berber word and maybe like the Kabil word is the most important to you, and he told me this guy is really important and really big there because it was actually like how can I say he has like progressive thoughts, and unfortunately he has been killed by the government.
Oh.
And I advise you to
What's the song?
the title is Yede Wayam. I don't speak it, but it will be linked on the description.
Oh, all right. There we go. Thank you for the
Thank
music.
you very much for having me.
Yeah,
It
of course.
was a nice discussion. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad it was great discussing it with you as well. And yeah, thanks for being on. I appreciate it, Guillaume.
Kassadam.
Merci.